I simply cried quietly to myself, is this hell? There's a reason that we're here. Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we've got a little bit of a different video. It's me sat down speaking to the camera. I had quite a few requests on the last video to elaborate a little bit more on my experience during ayahuasca, and especially Bufo as well. At the end of the video I did 5-MeO DMT, and there was a lot of emotions going. I had a flight maybe 6 hours after that experience. It was kind of do the DMT and then we went, and it was a whole thing. So to capture how I felt directly after the Bufo was really tough. There was a lot of emotions going through my head, and I was about to fly home and I was really gutted about that, to be honest. So I maybe didn't capture my initial response as best as I could, so I thought I'd sit down and try and go through as many questions as possible and cover all bases. So I guess you could say this is 1 month after my ayahuasca experience and how I feel since. So I don't have any notes with me. I did try and write some notes down, but it was almost impossible to try and convey how I felt. So I thought I'd just sit for as long as this camera will let me sit and talk to you guys, and I can cut it down and edit it into hopefully something digestible so that you guys can take something from the video. In this video I won't go over everything that happened in the retreat. I'll focus solely on the ayahuasca experience and the Bufo. So without any further ado, let's just get straight into it, because I don't know how long this video is going to be. So sit back, grab your cup of cacao, grab your tea, grab your water, whatever it is you're drinking, and relax, and let's get into this. So ayahuasca, if you haven't watched my initial video on the whole ayahuasca experience, I really recommend doing that. So first, I will put the link in the description for you to go and watch. It's a really interesting video. I felt like for maybe 8 minutes of that video, I was kind of waffling after my second ayahuasca experience, trying to convey how I felt, and that was impossible. So I'll do my best with a little bit of integration time and some time to get home and figure everything out, I guess. I've had some more time to be able to hopefully convey the message to you and let you know what it was like, I guess. So let me take you back to just before I did ayahuasca and how I felt going into the whole ceremony. I'll be completely honest, I've done mushrooms before. I thought it couldn't be much more of an experience than that. I knew it was to be more than mushrooms. I'd heard from multiple people, if not everybody, that had done both ayahuasca and mushrooms, that it's completely different. And me being the kid that I am, the naive kid that I am, I just thought, I'm a young, fit guy, I'll be fine, I'll go in there and just have a good time and see God and figure out my life. And that was not quite what happened, so I'm going to explain to you in a little bit more detail how it went down. Ayahuasca ceremony number 1 was very different from number 2, so this one will be a little bit quicker and easier for me to explain to you. But essentially, we're in the middle of the jungle in this beautiful room with an altar at the front, and there's beds either side. There's maybe 20 of us, a little bit more than 20 of us in the room, including the facilitators that also had the ayahuasca experience with us. They also drank the medicine. And it was very, very interesting. So you can imagine the room's layout. I'm laid down this side, there's people this side, people that side, and at the front there's the facilitators. So you go up in twos. The first 2 people closest to the facilitators would go up and they'd get their drink, and eventually it would come down to me and the guy opposite me. I think I was with Rob. Shout out to you, Rob, if you're watching. Shout out to everybody that was part of the retreat with us. But me and Rob went up. We sat down next to each other, and Ivan, the shaman, came with the drinks. He poured the drinks for us, and he blessed the medicine. He blew and gave us the drink. And at that point, it's like there's no going back. But I wasn't really nervous during the first ceremony, so I had the cup. I drank the medicine, walked and sat back down where I was lay. After the beautiful facilitators and the shaman have played music for maybe 1 hour, they say the window is now open and you can go up and drink more medicine if you feel that you need to go deeper, or if it hasn't hit you so well, or whatever the situation is. It's basically a free bar all night. So yeah, I was ready to go up and get as many drinks as I needed, but it didn't quite work like that, and I'll explain now. So I drank the medicine, and I kind of sat and lay down, maybe for 45 minutes, and not much happened. Of course, you can imagine it takes between half an hour, sometimes even quicker than that, but between half an hour and maybe an hour and a half to really kick in. And so I lay down and tried to continue to set my intentions, and I tried to be thoughtful about what was going to happen, and just the big thing for me was to let go. I'm very, very much driven by my ego. and I find it hard to grasp reality that doesn't quite exist in the physical form that I'm used to. So I'm saying to myself, let go, and I'm breathing, let go, and I'm trying to just let go and surrender to the experience. And maybe just over an hour in, I start to see the visuals that you'd expect to see on any kind of psychoactive DMT or ayahuasca specifically. And I remember I was desperate to have this enlightened experience, and I really had an expectation going in, which is one thing that I'll say you shouldn't have. And it's easy enough for them to say to me, don't have an expectation. And I'm like, yeah, I don't. But you know, deep inside me, I really had this expectation to meet God and have this different, profound outlook on life. And I did. Later on in the retreat, I did end up completely changing my worldview, but it wasn't the way that I thought it would be. So I saw these entities. They were quite faded, quite vague. I didn't see anything specific, or you know, you have, for example, Reggie was next to me and he was saying that he spoke to gods from all different realms and universes. I didn't quite have that experience. It was more little snakes that were kind of weaving through my consciousness, and a jaguar I saw, which is very common as well, very symbolic in the jungle, especially during ayahuasca. And I remember just thinking to myself while seeing these entities, I was trying to follow with my eyes closed where they were going. They were coming into consciousness and then out, and they were going in and out. And I remember I was trying to follow these conscious beings, and I was like, take me there then. I was like, take me where you're going. I want to go and see everything. And that was probably the wrong attitude to have, but that is the attitude that I had. And so it was like, take me, and none of them took me, none of them spoke to me, none of them said anything specific. I just kind of thought, okay, this is very much like mushrooms to me. And so a few hours in, it was very much just like that the whole time. I got up and went to the toilet and had a drink a couple of times, and I was a little bit wobbly, but I was okay. I was still in the room. And I went down to the campfire to see if anything would change, and you know, I kind of felt different. Of course, I felt like I was between two realities, this physical one and the spirit world, let's say. And I really wanted to go all into the spirit world, but maybe wasn't granted access at that point. It was kind of like not even opening the door. It was like, here's the peephole of the door, have a little look through. This is, you know, you could go here, but right now, this is not for you. It's worth saying during this, everybody else that's taken the medicine are all having very different, profound experiences. Some people are crying, some people are laughing, some people are dancing, walking around. There's a lot of purging going on. I did throw up maybe again an hour or so into the experience, and I purged quite a bit, and it was almost like, it's hard to explain. A lot of people, if not everybody, had the same experience, but it was like a serpent was leaving my body. It was like negative energy. I remember throwing up and looking into the bucket, and it was dark. It's like almost pitch black in this room, but you can kind of see this horrible stuff in the bucket, and you're throwing up, and it's like, oh, that was in me, you know. And I guess that's a figment of my imagination, right? Or that's part of that spirit world. But I'd throw up and kind of put it to one side. It wasn't a very nice taste. Let me say, the ayahuasca, everybody's got different experience with it. Some people say it tastes really good. Reggie, again, said it was okay. He could drink a lot. And he had 4 cups as well, so we'll get onto that later. But yeah, it wasn't the best tasting. And when you threw up, it kind of made it worse because you just felt that taste again. So I go down to the fire. I see other people. Some people are laid down and they're kind of like feeling the air. They're feeling vibes and energy. And even Reggie, when he was laid there, I keep mentioning Reggie, I'm sure you won't mind. He was next to me, and he was the guy I was kind of going through this experience with the most, I guess, because he was close with me and we were very similar in the position that we were in. And I was watching him lay down, and he was like this, smiling, and he was having a great time. And that was when, you know, we got down to the fire, and we were both still high, and he said to me, he was like, I've seen all these gods, I want to film, I want to speak about it. And if you watch his video, which again I'll link in the description, you can see he actually pulls out the GoPro and does speak to the camera during it. And I kind of couldn't do that. I just didn't feel in that right space to do that. It wasn't the right thing to do, it felt. It was for Reggie, wasn't for me. So I was kind of still trying to make sense of what was happening. Reggie would keep saying to me, like, let's talk, like, do you want to talk? And I was like, yeah, sure. And he was like, what do you want to talk about? And we kind of had that conversation over and over again. It was like we couldn't get past we couldn't get to the next stage. It was like, let's talk, but we don't know what to talk about. And I think I was kind of disheartened a little bit because I knew that Reggie was having the best time in the world and he'd just seen God. And I was like wanting to go to the spirit world, but kind of wasn't granted access. So I was kind of stuck in 2 realities of, okay, I can't function properly. I couldn't go and journal now, for example, or pull the camera out, but I also don't feel like I'm fully in this spirit world, right? that's the whole thing. Anyway, music continues playing. We drank the medicine maybe 6:30, 7 p.m. and we're tripping till maybe 1 a.m, 2 a.m. And during this time, people are going up to get more drink. I'm like, you know, I don't feel like I could. I felt like I just throw it back up again. So anyway, I decide I'm gonna go and drink some more because I actually thought the window had closed. That was it. I was really gutted because I thought that I drank the medicine. It didn't do so much to me, and I couldn't drink anymore during that ceremony. So I spent a large part of like 2 hours just like prancing back and forth. Like, I'm a little bit gutted. Like, I didn't get to drink as much as I probably should have to have entered that spirit world. And anyway, I learned that literally just before they closed the window, that it was open all night. Once they opened it, it was open. So I could have gone up and got a drink anytime. So me, and funny enough, Rob, again, who I saw at the fire, was like, yeah, I want to go and get some more too. So we went back up, and I think Rob probably had more of an experience, and he said to the shaman, I couldn't really speak so much. I was just like, I don't even want to talk. And Rob said, I just want a little bit. So the shaman provided us both with a small amount. So I had maybe 1.5 cups the first ceremony. The second dose, let's say the second cup, kind of, it didn't enhance my experience at all. I think within about 15 minutes of drinking it, I purged again and threw it up in the toilet, and then went back upstairs and kind of just felt the same. And that was the first ceremony. So it was like, okay, I can do this. It's different every time. Second ceremony is a whole new thing. We've got tasks in between. We're gonna do Cambo, which is the frog poison, which clears out your inside. There's all this stuff that we were doing. So I was like, the next ceremony, I'm going to be clearer, healthier. Let's go. I'm ready. We have all of the tasks and the meditations and everything, and then the second ceremony, like 2 days later, we go into. And now I'm like, I kind of know what to expect, right? Wrong. I didn't know what to expect, because ayahuasca is profoundly different every single time, and it's why I'm sure I'll do it again. Despite my second ceremony experience, I'm sure I'll do it again in the future. But the second ceremony comes along. The ceremony worked a little bit different this time in the way that the shamans played their music, and they had specific what's called icaros, and they essentially go around the room unless they're called to somebody specific that they feel in the moment. They'll go around the room chronologically, and they'll pull out instruments, and they'll play like a composed piece specifically for you. And that's different instruments, different music. Sometimes words will come out, sometimes it's just sounds, and it's a whole thing, right? And I have this whole audio recorded. 7 hours the audio is, but there's a lot of purging going on, especially at the beginning, so a lot of the music's muffled out by sounds that you probably wouldn't want to hear. So anyway, we go up the same as the first time. We take our cup and we drink, and we sit down, and I'm doing the same thing. I'm saying let go, I'm saying surrender, just completely surrender. And Robin, shout out to Robin, who is I became very, very connected with her throughout after this second ceremony and for what was to come after. I remember maybe 45 minutes in, she drank before me, so maybe 50 to an hour into her experience, she breaks down, and I'm sure she won't mind me saying now she's on the craziest path, and she's so happy and feels enlightened, and she's changed completely. But during this time, she was, it sounded like she was dying, I'll be completely honest, and that put a lot of people off. I know Reggie didn't have the most profound experience the second time, and he said it was down to the fact that he was scared for Robin. She was crying, she had to be escorted out of the room, she was being carried at one point, and I stayed with my eyes closed, and I remember just saying, send love, it's okay, she's going to be okay, relax, let go, and all the rest of it. And so I was completely fine maybe until like an hour and 10 minutes into the second ceremony, first cup, and I really needed to purge, I really needed to throw up, and I don't like to, but I tend to hold it in, probably out of embarrassment, even though everybody else is throwing up and making these crazy sounds. I was like, I don't want anybody to hear me do this. And during ayahuasca, people don't care about your experience as much, or I guess they do, but they're not thinking about how you are acting or feeling or what you're doing. It's more about their journey. And me being selfish thought, everybody's going to care what I sound like and what I'm doing. So after I decided, okay, I need to get this out, I feel really awful, I threw up into the bucket. Same kind of thing, it was serpent-like, I'd say. It was not quite a snake, but it just had serpent energy. It wasn't so nice, and it was horrible. And after that, the floodgates opened. I was just throwing up uncontrollably for maybe like 20 minutes. And when I felt like I had to lie down, I kind of had the bucket here, and I was on my hands and knees at this point. Like, I threw up, and I just remember like becoming one with the bucket. I was like, oh, I'm feeling it now, this is much different from the first one. And I think my ego wasn't allowing me to let go completely. It was like, what is happening? I don't like this. No, we're going to shut down. And that was the start of the worst experience of my life. I lay there, felt like I was one with the universe, one with the bucket, one with everything. It was this really, really weird feeling. And that was kind of what I asked for. I got what I asked for, but my brain wasn't in the right space to be able to handle that, I guess. And I was prepared correctly, and I did everything I could have done, but maybe I had to go through this experience. What happened next? So I lay there, and at that point then it was like, I can't even be like saying let go, surrender. It was like, it changed to, Mother Ayahuasca, please be gentle with me. A lot of people talk about how you can kind of ask Mother Ayahuasca to be gentle, and she will. And I was literally saying out loud at this point, I was saying, I'm not ready for this. Please be gentle. This isn't, I don't like where I'm going. This doesn't feel good. And it was probably just the transition into that spirit world that I'd asked for initially. Now looking back, but it was very scary. And that then put me in this space where it was just negativity. It wasn't a positive experience, let's say. The best way I can describe it to you is hell. I literally said, again, out loud, I said this, is this hell? And at that point, I thought that nobody else could hear me, nobody else mattered, nobody else cared about where I was. It felt like, and this sounds awful, and I'm not saying this means you should never try ayahuasca, everybody had very different experiences, and I've come out a better person for it, and I'll explain a little bit more on that in a minute, but it felt like my whole life and everybody's life leads up to the point where you drink ayahuasca, and then it's hell. You just like live in this eternity of hell, and that's what it felt like to me. It felt like one big joke. I remember thinking, oh, we're a cult in the jungle doing drugs. Everyone's a hippie, and they wanted me to do this. This was like the initiation to their cult, and I was just in an endless stream of consciousness experiencing hell. And I'm gonna wait my turn to eventually come back down to Earth or onto another planet or somewhere in the universe where hopefully I'll get the chance to live a life again. It was almost like a rebirth experience when I came back. So yeah, I wanted to drink, I wanted to ask for help, I needed to go for a wee, I needed to throw up, but I just couldn't express any of that. At one point I remember thinking, I might just go up and start hugging people, I might just start doing handstands and front flips, I might just like go crazy, because in this world, like, it doesn't exist, like nobody even exists here. This is just me and my thoughts, and something stopped me, and I was like, no, don't do that. And I think it was just because I didn't feel well. I think if I actually felt okay, I probably would have got up and expressed myself in different ways, and maybe that would have been good, maybe it would have been bad. But I lay there in like a fetal position, and I was just feeling unwell, didn't like where I was, and thought that was it forever. I thought I'd just fucked it, to be honest. I thought I should never have done it, and this is life for me now. And so, yeah, it was kind of very much just like that, playing over and over in my head. The music would play, and like listening back to the music, it was so beautiful, but at the time I remember thinking, I'm gonna have to listen to this for eternity. Like, this is just like, the music's gonna just keep replaying. I'm just in this stream of consciousness. But the positives I take from it is I did feel this sense of everything is one. I had this sense that the universe is experiencing itself through you as human form. And I really felt that. And that's quite a liberating experience to think about now I'm sober, I guess. But at the time it was like, oh no, I don't like this. And I got really upset. I didn't cry. I couldn't cry, I feel like. It was, as I said, I wanted to express myself, but felt like I couldn't do it for some reason. But I really just wanted to cry my eyes out and just like say sorry. And I remember thinking, I'm quite a loving person. I always give my love to everybody else. I'm a very kind person. I always try and do the best for everyone around me. Why am I in hell? Like, what did I do to deserve to be in hell? Did I not believe strong enough? Did I not pray enough? Did I not believe in the right entities or gods, or what was it? And I still don't have the answer, but I do know that I wasn't in hell. During the integration circle the day after, I spoke on it and I cried my eyes out. I remember the first ceremony, somebody after their experience cried, and I could see that it was really profound to them and it affected them on some deep level, and I couldn't resonate with it. And I was like, why are you crying in front of a lot of people after this experience? It was like mushrooms to me. That's during the first ceremony. So after the second ceremony, I completely resonated with that, and as I said, during my integration circle afterwards, I cried my eyes out. I wrote a little poem, which I'll read to you, and as I was reading it, I just cried my eyes out. Let me read this poem to you now. So this is what I wrote. My second time drinking the medicine. I died, quite literally. I became one with the universe, but not in a beautiful way. Let me explain if I may. I wanted to dance, scream, fight, hug, love, ask for help, but I couldn't bring myself to do any of them. I simply cried quietly to myself, is this hell? No fire, no devils, no evil entities, just living inside my own head for what felt like would be an eternity. I felt that I wasn't here anymore. I was catapulted into the stream of souls travelling through the universe whilst begging to come back into my human form. It was a real storm. Everybody I've loved ceased to exist. It felt like nothing mattered in this world. Not money, not pleasure, not family, not treasure. Is this how I'll exist now and forever? That's what I wrote. And when I was saying that, I cried during the integration circle. It was really, really tough for me. And I just, even now, I just didn't know that the human brain was capable of creating some kind of consciousness, whether under the influence of any type of medicine or psychedelic or drugs. Like, the fact that my brain could take me to that place under any circumstance in any universe is scary. And I really truly feel now that I needed to experience that to know that that's the worst that could happen. That's the worst thing. That might even be what is buried in my subconscious. You know, I give all this love out. It's like all this negativity is buried here. And then on top of that is all this love that I'm projecting and giving out. But I've not dealt with, obviously, some of the crazy traumas that have happened in my life. And I'll give you a backstory really short. It doesn't need to be long. My life has been very good. I've not had really any troubles. You know, no real close family member has passed since I've become an adult, let's say. There's been no major traumas. I've not lived the easiest life ever, but it's all things considered, you know, life's hard. Everybody goes through ups and downs, and people in my family have struggled. I've struggled for times, but nothing that I thought would ever bring up these kind of emotions during any kind of ceremony, or even just any time ever. So I'm just coming back round and I'm feeling super confused and dazed, and the window's open for more medicine, and I'm thinking to myself, I can't do this. And Reggie's had 4 cups, right? And a few others have had 3 or 4 cups, and I'm just thinking to myself, how do you even do that? And obviously that just wasn't for me. But I remember thinking, I don't know when I'll get the chance to drink this medicine again. I'm gonna have more, and I'm gonna try and be more open, and I'm gonna see if it takes me to a different place and maybe says, I told you it was gonna be crazy. Now, do you understand? Can you relax, kind of thing? And so I went up, and this time I was happy to have only like a small amount, and I had like a quarter of a cup, a tiny amount. So I drank it, went and sat back down, same thing again. Within about 30 minutes, I was catapulted straight into the same place. It was not as intense, maybe because I didn't drink as much, but I threw up a little bit and was kind of in the fetal position again, just thinking, why did I just do that, you know? So the ceremony ends. Let me take you back, actually. The Icaros that I mentioned earlier, they're all being played. It's really funny because I'm in this stream of consciousness where I don't know what's going on. But I knew when my Icaro was ready to be played. I knew when Ivan, the shaman, was here. And I didn't even hear or listen or was comprehending the music that was played to the guy before me, who was Tapovan, one of the facilitators. Shout out to Tapovan. I didn't even comprehend his music. I didn't know what was going on. I was still in my hell. But as soon as he came and sat down, I sat up like this with my legs crossed, and he played the guitar, and I'll play this song for you. I'll play a little bit of it at least. It's a beautiful piece. He said, "How are you, brother? Strong medicine." And I just couldn't even respond. I was like, yeah. And he played this music, and I kind of swayed, and I was kind of like swaying to the music, and I was having a good time. And it's funny because during that moment, nobody else in the room purged, nobody got up and made crazy noises, nothing happened. It was like I was really connecting with the shaman, Ivan, for this period of time. It was like 10 minutes. I remember like looking into his face, and it was pitch black, so I couldn't see his face, but I could see him moving as he was playing the music. He had a guitar, and there were some of the other facilitators around me that were like blowing tobacco and incense and all. You know, I'm not very equipped on what it was that they were giving me. I can't tell you exactly what they were doing, but it was very spiritual, and they were maybe cleansing me, ridding me of bad spirits, whatever that was. But I was there for the music, and I was completely there. And after he played, he went to Reggie next to me, and I kind of lay down, and I was listening to Reggie's song, and I was like, I really like that. And then after that, I kind of just like ceased to exist again. So it was really, really strange to me that like during this whole thing I was in hell, but during my Ikaro, I managed to just be there. It was like, I don't know, it was like I knew that I had to be there for that, and everybody else did as well. It was really, really strange. But I looked at Ivan the shaman, and I remember thinking again, this is very reptilian, or very primordial, very human. Like it's I can't describe it, but I had this connection with him. I could call almost like my soul was connecting with his. To anybody that hasn't done ayahuasca before, you're probably gonna think I'm a weird hippie, but you really like it's one of those things you can't judge the experience until you've done it. If you look at the comments on my ayahuasca video, or any ayahuasca video, everybody that comments that's done ayahuasca before just kind of understands, and they have this love, and they hold this space for you, and they tell you it's okay. So the second ceremony ends, everybody's up and in Joyce, and they're talking to each other and gathering experiences from each other, and I'm kind of just sat there like this, and I'm just kind of lay there or sat there, and I'm just like, I don't even know what just happened. My life can never be the same again. I've just experienced something that I know exists somewhere, and if I ever go there again, I don't know how I'm going to cope. I don't know how I wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy ever. Yeah, it was really hard, but shout out to Perla again. You know, I made a connection with everybody during this whole experience, but Perla was really excited for my second ceremony. She really, for some reason, she thought I was going to have this crazy profound experience, and I did, right? But she was really invested in how I'd feel. So I remember she was the first that came over to me, and she was like, how was it? And she'd had a good experience. I think her first experience during the first ceremony was quite negative, but she came over, and after the second ceremony she had this really positive experience, and she was like, how was it? She was expecting me to say it was great, I met God and I saw, you know, the divine. But I was really deflated and really upset and gutted, and I expressed this to her, and she was there for me, and everyone was there for me, and we had hugs, and we had some fruit, and then we kind of slept. The day after the ceremony, in the ayahuasca video that I made, you can see me try and explain it for like 10 minutes, and it's just like, really, it seemed to me like a mess. I really couldn't. I thought I was completely back and I was sober, but like looking back, it was like, oh no, I still didn't really know what went on. I didn't have time to process it, and yeah, hopefully that does it a little bit more justice. It's really hard to say anything more than that. I know that unless you've been to that stream of consciousness that I've been in, and I mean, like later on I was told by the facilitators and almost everyone, they said, they kind of smiled at me and they were like, this is what you asked for, you asked for enlightenment. They said, you know, you might just not have been able to let go, which makes a lot of sense for me. I'm very ego driven, so and during this medicine your ego is dissolved like completely, and for me that just wasn't a pleasant experience, probably because I couldn't surrender to the whole experience, right? And they're saying everyone's been there. The facilitators, the shamans, anybody that's done ayahuasca over a prolonged period of time have been there. They've experienced the same kind of hell, and it's really part of the process, and you have to go through that to come out the other side and do it again and experience the profound blissness and whatever else. So that made me feel a little bit better. So if you have any more questions about the second ayahuasca ceremony specifically for me, please leave them in the comments. I don't know how I can convey the experience a little bit better or explain to you. As I said, if you haven't done it before, you're like, this isn't me sounding patronizing. I really don't mean to sound like, oh, I've done it, I'm a spiritual being and you're not. It's not like that. It's just like, even before I'd done it, me 6 weeks ago, I remember who I was, and I remember if I had this conversation with me 6 weeks ago now, he'd be like, what? He'd be like, he wouldn't be able to comprehend it. So if you haven't done ayahuasca before, it's not something you'll be able to wrap your head around. But I appreciate everybody that hasn't done it, that is still watching. Shout out to you for holding the space and hopefully being positive about it. And anybody that has done ayahuasca can kind of hopefully resonate a little bit more with me. Next day we have a cacao ceremony, which ended up being probably the most profound moment of the whole retreat for me, I feel. As I said, me and Robin got a little bit closer, the woman who also seemed to experience her own version of hell. We were heading back up to the room that we conduct the ayahuasca ceremony in to do cacao and have a whole ceremony there. It's completely sober, there's no psychoactive involved. Cacao is a beautiful medicine that I've started to actually incorporate into my daily life here in the UK, and it's a beautiful medicine. I'm gonna say medicine. I don't feel bad for calling it a medicine. Sometimes I'm like, medicine sounds a little bit strange, you know. Medicine's like paracetamol or Calpol or whatever you guys have, but I guess you know, medicine's a broad spectrum. Just like the government and anybody with power around the world can blanket term all drugs as drugs, right? It's like paracetamol is a drug, caffeine is a drug, but ayahuasca is a drug too, right? DMT. It's like they're very, very different and they affect you differently. I don't think these are all drugs. I think there's a spectrum, and ayahuasca tops that spectrum for sure. Cacao falls upon that spectrum for me. It really makes me feel open. It makes me feel like I'm in the heart a little bit more than the head, which is something I feel like I need. Anyway, I'm waffling, but Robin starts to cry before we go up into the cacao ceremony, and she's like, I can't go back up into that room. And I found myself tearing up as well, and I wasn't scared to go back up in the room, but I remember thinking, I don't want to relive any of those experiences. I don't even want to be near that room anymore. But me and Robin had a hug, we had support from everybody else, and we went up and we went into the room. It was set up completely differently, and it turns out we ended up having the most profound experience during the cacao ceremony. The two beautiful, there was a few people that were singing and making music as we prepared the cacao. But Ale and her daughter were singing beautiful music, and they said to me and Robin, they said, come and sit in the middle of this circle of people with the altar. They said, come and sit in the middle. And I don't know if they just knew that we had this mad experience, so they just wanted to help us out. I don't know if I truly believe that they felt it on some kind of different level, some vibrational level, some spiritual level. I felt that they knew that me and Robin were kind of still not at ease, and we had discomfort. So we sat in the middle of the circle of people next to the altar, and she said, can you hug each other for me? So me and Robin, I had Robin like this, and I had her, and Ale sat to my right next to Robin, and then her daughter sat to my left. So yeah, I have Robin, Ale's playing this beautiful music and she's singing, and her daughter's doing the same. And it created this wild vibrational frequency. Their music, their singing is just like nothing I've ever heard. I would pay thousands to go and see these guys live at this intimate level. And they're singing, and Robin starts to break down. She's crying her eyes out, right? Uncontrollably crying. And I'm hold it together, people are watching you kind of thing. And I'm just admiring the two that are singing, and I'm this is just beautiful. This is I remember thinking, be in this moment. This is probably going to be one of the best moments of your life. And it might not sound like much, but I wish I recorded it. It was just beautiful. And before I knew it, I broke down as well. And I don't think I've cried this much ever. I was just tears were streaming. And I was completely sober at this point. It was almost like I was relieving all the energy that I had after the previous ayahuasca ceremony. And I had Robin, she's crying, I'm crying, we're looking around, everybody's holding space for us. They're just being so gentle and protective and nice, and there's beautiful music going on and all the rest of it. And I remember that just being one of the best experiences ever. Then we sat back down, we drank our cacao, we made intentions, whatever else. And then we got up, and upbeat music was playing, and we just danced. And I've never danced like it. It took me a minute because I was I don't want to dance in front of these people, even though I love everybody here, and we've all got respect for each other, and we've seen each other in the most vulnerable of states throughout this whole retreat. I'm I don't want to dance in front of these people. I don't even know how to dance. 5 minutes in, I was completely loose. I'd lost myself in the dancing. I was nobody cares. And I was dancing, and looking back at the videos, I don't think I was that bad, if I do say so myself. I was dancing, and everybody else was dancing, and then they'd say Rob, and Rob would start dancing, and then everybody would copy Rob, and they'd say Sam, and I'd do a dance, and everybody, and it was just the best way to end the retreat ever. That was second to last day, and it doesn't stop there though, because the next day, the day that we all leave, there's optional Bufo, which is another toad. It's another frog. There's a lot of frogs within this retreat. A lot of their medicine, again, I'll call it, they excrete poison or venom that is ingested or burnt into skin or whatever. And so Bufo is essentially 5-MeO-DMT. That's the psychoactive compound. They call it the God molecule. It's about 6 times more potent than the active ingredient in ayahuasca, the DMT in ayahuasca. 5-MeO-DMT is very different. It only lasts about 20 minutes. Give or take. For me, I think it was about 25 minutes, but I didn't want to do it. I was I can't do this. I just want to go home now. But I remember thinking, you're here. Just do it. It could be the experience you need. So I sat and I did it. And I remember there's this bright white light, which a lot of people speak about on the God molecule, 5-MeO-DMT. Bright white light. And I see it, and I'm okay, this already looks better than the last time I drank ayahuasca. This could be okay. I lay down, and she put the pipe in my mouth. I had more. I was I don't know if I need more. I think I'm already here, but I have more. And I was just let go. And I think the difference between that and the ayahuasca was I had no choice. It is more powerful than ayahuasca. It doesn't last as long. You can't explore that journey as much, but I couldn't not let go. It was like my ego wasn't just dissolved. My ego was put to one side. It was like, right, we're going to do the work from here. Like, you just like do what you need to do. And I lay back, closed my eyes, saw the beautiful bright white light. And after that, to be honest, I don't remember much. I think I was just kind of out of it. I just remember coming back round and I was like, felt a little bit unwell, and I kind of went back into the fetal position. I kind of default to that position I feel most comfortable in. If I'm on my back and I feel unwell, it's horrible. So I was in this fetal position, and Ali's playing again what ended up being the most beautiful song I ever listened to. Every time she plays music, it just got better and better. And this is now my favourite song. It's just amazing. And I remember like looking and I was like, oh, I feel okay. I was like, something happened like on a deeper level while I was away, and it needed to happen, is how I felt. I looked up and saw the trees were in the jungle, the beautiful music's playing. I looked to my left, I see everybody at the campfire, they're smiling. Looked to my right, the people that had just done Bufo, they just had their experience, were sat or lay down on a sheet, kind of recovering. And I just felt this profound sense of gratitude. I just felt like so happy. I was so grateful for everything. It was like, I had this, during all of these experiences, I had this very weird primordial state of being. I remember thinking, why are humans here on Earth? There's something more to this. We're not just here to do the day-to-day things that we think we're here to do. There's a reason that we're here. And I don't know what that reason is. Nobody does, right? But it gave me this sense of comfort. It was like, oh, everything that you kind of believed from a distance before is true. Like, it's not just coincidence that we're here. There's something else bigger at play here. The universe speaks to you. The universe, the vibrations, everything is real, you know. The people that you look at and you call hippies because they're drinking their cacao and they've got incense and they're meditating, you can't show me one of those people that ever look bad or they're negative or sad. Or of course they're human. They have, you know, moments, as do I, as do you. But like, none of these people are ever feeling awful. And I was like, there's got to be more to that. And I kind of felt it. I was like, oh yeah. I was like, they know because they've done this more. Like, they understand a little bit better. They've been to this realm and they kind of understand that, oh, we're humans, but it's much more simpler than we make it. You know, it really is about the breath. It's about the breath work. It's about being in the moment, being present, and experiencing life. This could be, for all we know, heaven, right? Like, we don't know. I think there's a very good case for the fact that we are living in heaven right now, but we're just making a mess of it. We're just fucking it up, right? Like, this is, look at anybody that's doing anything with their life that they're proud of or happy with, or they have love and family. And I get it's harder for some than others, but this is like so beautiful. You know, if you live life the right way, whatever that is, or, you know, you're loving and compassionate, and you do the things that you want to do every single day, and you're happy and you smile, what more of a heaven could you ask for? You know, this is like, you get to live in this human form and experience all the emotions, as profoundly negative as my second ayahuasca experience, or as high as I felt. Not high, but as not high literally, but like high frequency, let's say, like how I felt after the Bufo. I was like, there's this complete spectrum, and I was like, to live on this earth is a blessing. And I felt that, like, oh wow, the people here are just, all they're doing is they create altars, they just have this medicine, they have a sacred fire, they believe in this stuff, and they give space, and they respect and they love other people, whether you've never done ayahuasca before like me, or whether you've done it 8 times or 20 times or whatever. I was like, it's much more simpler than we make it. It's not about making £1,000 a day and having the best cars and stuff in the world. It's really just about being happy in your own skin and being comfortable and not having to seek external validation. And just, there was this real, like, profound sense of, oh, the universe is speaking to you here, and it downloaded some information into you that you needed to know. You kind of already knew it, but you didn't, like, practice it, right? So I mean, like, since coming back, I've integrated different things. So I have frappe here, which you will have seen in one of my vlogs. If you watch the vlogs, I did it really quickly, but it's essentially, when you're there, they have this big wooden pipe, and it's, again, a whole thing, and you set your intentions, and they bless the medicine, and they put the pipe up to your head, your chest, and they hold the space for you, and they blow sacred tobacco ash, and like, I think it's ash from sacred trees. I have some here. I bought some from the retreat. I don't know what that said. I think it's something of the soul. It says Veya Pache. I don't know. I've nearly used it all. And then I bought some more, which was super expensive to get here in the UK, but it's from Root of the Gods. It's just this tobacco, grounded tobacco essentially. And so you have this self-serve pipe, and I do the whole thing in the morning where I set my intention for the day. I hold it to my head. I think I know what I'm doing. I'm just like, just breathe, just be in the moment, and blow it into your nose. You put it into your nose and blow it, and it gives you this head high for a minute, and you start to cry a little bit, and you kind of blow your nose, and then I sit and meditate in the morning. That's been quite helpful for me. The meditation has been quite good, and then I'm also just thinking when I'm in when I have road rage and I'm like, you fucking dick, and I'm like, I notice it and I'm like, oh, that's not how I should be, that's not me, that's just like the old me, that's just the old habits. I'm like, that shouldn't be me. So what I'm trying to say, I think, is that despite all of the ups and downs of the retreat, and specifically the most negative experience I ever had, I think I came out of it a better person, and I must have needed to go through it. And a lot of you might say, or you might think at least, that that's just your optimistic self and you really encountered evil entities and ayahuasca's serious. And of course it is, and I don't know what happened, but I know that I was loved while I was there, and on a different level. Of course my family loved me and I'm here and I'm loved, but I felt love like I'd never felt it before. When I remember coming home to the UK and I just wanted to hug everybody so much, and everyone's so used to just like, oh hi, how are you? And I was like, no, hug me. I was like, I want a real hug, I've been having real hugs and real love. And so I think being a human on this earth is more about that, the love for each other, companionship, and just being grateful, and just being able to express that, and being in the moment, and just knowing that we don't know what happens next. You could end up in the world that I was. You might end up in the most blissful, peaceful heaven. You could end up being reincarnated. Everyone's got their different beliefs, but again, this is something else that's changed for me. I feel like it doesn't matter what you believe, it's right. It doesn't matter if you believe in Buddha, what God you pray to. They're all the same. They're all you. They're all the universe. It's all one. It's all connected. So I think really, if you tap into those beliefs and you're able to let go of expectations, I really believe that you can achieve enlightenment. It doesn't have to be through psychedelics. It could be through meditation. You hear many people that experience these states through just meditation, just breath work, just being in the moment. And I believe that truly now. I think I always believed it, but never really experienced it. And I just had to have the assistance of psychedelics to kind of push me through the door a little bit. And it was like, oh no, you don't get to experience the blissfulness right now, but here, it does exist, This is hell. Do you want to be here? Do you want to live the way you were living? And I've never been a bad person, right? I'd like to say I've always been, everybody that's around me and that knows me would say the same thing, but I just had to experience that. It was just part of my journey and what I had to do. So yeah, I hope that kind of clears a few things up, and hopefully it gives you a bit more clarity on what happened and what you can maybe expect. Again, I wouldn't say expect anything if you're going to do any of these sacred ceremonial rituals, or you're going to experience any of this medicine. Really don't have any expectations, but I think everybody's experience is different, and I learned that during the retreat. I think I'm not missing anything there. I hope I'm not missing anything. If I think of anything, I can whack it in the comments. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I love to read through them. The support on the last ayahuasca video has been mind-blowing. There's going to be more videos that are coming. I'm just trying to vlog with the GoPro, to be honest. We've got trips planned. I'm heading out the UK. There's not much to do here, but I'm trying to make it work. I'm really, really into the whole YouTube thing. It's funny, I've come full circle, because I used to make YouTube videos when I was 14 years old. So 10 years ago, and even before that. And when I was 10, 11 years old, I used to just make videos with anything I had, and I'd film my life in the UK, which was boring, but it's always been what I love to do, is document my journey and what I'm doing. And I progressed from that, and I now have media companies and responsibilities here in the UK, but I'm kind of transitioning back to just documenting what it is I'm up to and what I'm doing. So if you could support that in any way, just by leaving a like, drop a comment, it means more than you could ever know. Every time I get a notification from YouTube Studio and there's a comment on the video, I'm like, sick. I reply within seconds. I'm so into this, and I think that's part of the whole ayahuasca journey as well. It didn't quite show me what I wanted to do or where I needed to be drawing, but afterwards I have this more clarity and I'm like, oh, I need to be just doing what I love to do and what I want to do, and I'll make it work, you know? Another thing is I haven't drank since. I haven't really had much of an urge to drink. A lot of people say ayahuasca is very good for recovering addicts. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it if you're just an addict and you just want to go and clear your addiction. It's not quite that simple, but multiple people, a lot of people, most people, let me say, seem to come back from those kind of journeys and they change themselves profoundly. And I haven't drank since. I don't plan on drinking. I've never been an alcoholic, but I do drink, you know, occasionally. I do drink week in, week out, and I like to enjoy myself, but I don't need to poison my body. You know, I haven't eaten really any red meat since I come back. There's been all these changes. Anyway, my camera is about to die because I started filming on like 40% like an idiot, but yeah, I'm going to end the video here. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like, please drop a comment. You know how much it means to me now, and expect more videos soon. I'm really looking forward to creating more and more this year and in the years to come. But yeah, leave a like. If you need anything, if you have any questions, let me know, and I hope you enjoyed the video. All the best, and thanks for listening.